Thanks for checking out this video. Today we're gonna hang out for a little while. So grab your snacks and your drinks and get comfy so we can get right into this. Today we're going to be talking about OCD, specifically about intrusive thoughts. I think I mentioned in possibly my intro video on this channel about some of the many different disorders and mental quirks that I have, and a lot of that kind of gets bundled up with Asperger's syndrome because people who have Asperger's, and it's also true for people with autism, the wires in their head are like crossed, so they're not all lined up quite right. I guess that's like the best way I know how to describe it, so in layman's terms, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, because some of our processing for like emotional things don't look quite like other people's, things just affect us differently. But OCD is really common amongst people that have autism, Asperger's syndrome. So I believe that I have OCD when it comes to certain things. I didn't get diagnosed for it, nor am I going to be pursuing a diagnosis for it because I'm just so tired. Like, I don't really feel like dealing with medical professionals. Also, I feel kind of glitchy right now, so if y'all see me making weird faces or something while I'm filming or like just look spaced out or something, like, that's why. I'm gonna try and edit that stuff out if I catch it, but I don't know, I might not catch it all. Part of why somebody might be having the intrusive thoughts thing is because they might have depression, anxiety, PTSD, like it's a symptom of one or all of those disorders. And what intrusive thoughts are is that it's like unwanted negative thoughts that just pop into your head, and it's almost like your brain is just obsessing over them and you constantly think about it. Even if you don't want to think about it, you can't consciously make yourself not think about it. Like, you can't control your own thoughts almost, you know? So like, I will get like that, especially when I'm like high anxiety, I don't get enough rest, I don't sleep long enough hours throughout the night, and I have bad insomnia, so that actually happens a lot more frequently than I wish it did. And what happens is, like, my mind will just fixate on a thought, and then it'll develop that thought. Like, in my head, this is how it works. Like, I'll have a thought, and then it's almost like my mind goes through the scenarios of development for that thought, like as far as it can go, to show me all of the possibilities of how that incident could end up turning out in my life. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. For example, I think I jokingly said this before. I was kind of like making fun of myself, but when I was a teenager, I had this weird, like, I just had a thought that my uncle Ben, the one that I talk about the most, at the time he was working in Washington, D.C., and he would be commuting from Virginia to Washington every single day. And he would leave for work at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when it was still dark, and then he would come home from his office around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, driving back. So I knew his schedule, and like, I lived in New York at the time, and my uncle lived in Virginia, and we kept in touch with each other through phone calls mostly, and letters, handwritten letters. So my uncle was like my pen pal, and you know, this uncle is like very special to me. He's my favorite uncle on my dad's side, and the closest of my father's siblings to me, and he's the eldest of my dad's siblings. So I had a lot in common with him because I'm the oldest too, and we had the same birthday. Like, I always felt like, you know, like the stars aligned us together for some reason, and we were meant to know each other. So he was like my best friend, and I just got this thought in my head that on his way home from work, because he was busy and hungry, he would stop to get some food. The food that he was getting specifically was KFC in my head. I promise it's not because he's black. Like, I just imagined him wanting fried chicken and then ordering that in the drive-thru, driving home in traffic, eating his chicken wings, and like, I don't know why, like, just in my mind, I pictured that as he was driving, eating the chicken wing, that he'd go over like a bump or something in the road that would cause him to like lose his balance or something, and then he would accidentally start choking on a bone from the chicken. So specific, you guys. And then he's choking on a chicken bone. As crazy and ridiculous as that sounds. Yeah, so he's choking on a chicken bone, and then because he can't talk, he can't call 911. He's just stuck in traffic, choking on a chicken bone, and then he dies because he choked to death. That was like a weird fantasy that just played out in my brain for no reason. Just a complete random thought, right? I was so devastated by this thought that I almost thought it was a premonition, and I started crying because I was like, oh my God, what if my uncle is really actually in traffic right now, choking on a chicken bone and dying, and I'm just like feeling it. Maybe that's what's happening, you know? So I'm really reacting like Uncle Benny is choking and dying right now. I started feverishly calling his cell phone, hoping that, you know, he would answer, because my uncle, he worked for the federal government for years, and like he was a big advocate for like a lot of conspiracy theories that exist, but he always felt like, no, they're not conspiracies. This stuff really happens in the government. So he would never keep his cell phone assembled. He'd always take it apart. He'd always remove the battery from the back and like leave it inside of his car that way, except for in emergency situations, like if he was traveling somewhere or if he thought he was going to need the phone to make a phone call. That's it. It's the only time that he had his cell phone turned on. So I'm hoping like his phone is on while he's driving home. So I'm calling. He's not answering the phone. And then I'm calling his house to see if someone will answer the phone there. Finally, when he gets home from work, he picks up. I'm like, oh my God, you're not dead. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, did you have fried chicken in the car? He's like, no. I thought it was Inspector Gadget, y'all. I was like, oh, you wasn't eating no chicken though? He's like, no, what are you talking about? I'm like, please don't drive and eat fried chicken ever in your life. Like, never. He's like, why? I'm like, because I had a weird ass thought that you choked on a chicken bone and died. And I'm like having a nervous breakdown. And he was just like, yeah, you need to stop smoking that crack cocaine. No, but seriously though, I was so devastated. The fact that I had that thought though really scared me, because I was like, how can my mind just do that? How can I think of something that's not even real, but it's so vivid in my mind? I can feel all the emotions that go along with these thoughts. And I was convinced that it was either going to happen or that it did happen. It just felt so real. And I get thoughts like that all the time. Like, all the freaking time. It's not always death related, but it's almost always negative. Like, I don't just have some random fantastical thought about winning the lottery. Like, I don't really have thoughts like that, you know? I wish I would, but that's not what I be thinking about. So I don't know why my mind does this. Like I said, I believe that it's a strong after effect of anxiety and PTSD from my traumas growing up. At the time when I had that particular thought about my uncle, this was post NOR, this was post foster care, and this was during my time living just with my mother and sister, just constantly having conflicts with my mom. So my traumas weren't even over. Like, I was still going through trauma even at home with my mother at that time, because her narcissistic personality caused her to continually verbally like abuse me and my sister, and she still does. Like, guys, oh my God, should I just make a whole nother video talking about my mom? Like, I had to like almost cuss her out the other day because she really like called me up trying to violate me, and I was like, who are you talking to? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? I'm gonna tell you guys that story in another video, because Yeah, because it's gonna make this video way too long. But anyway, but that's just her personality. Like, she cannot fix it if she tried. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe she could. I don't know. But she's like that. Yeah, but the intrusive thoughts, that's what they kind of look like, just as an example. And I have those kinds of thoughts all the time. I don't like it. It's scary. It makes me feel distressed. I don't like feeling anxious. It makes me, like, my heart race. It makes me stay up all night long just brewing over things and worrying about stuff that really I don't even need to worry about. And I don't really know how to make myself not have those kinds of thoughts, except to face my traumas and work through them and talk about it. And, like, this is one of the things I was just recently talking to one of my online friends about. But it sounds like she had some similar experiences to mine. And something she said that I thought was very true was that when you are dealing with trauma and trying to process it, it literally requires, like, physically making yourself think about what happened that caused you the trauma. And when you do that, you're also reliving it. You're also feeling all the same feelings you felt then. You are seeing it in your head. Like, it's like a scary movie where no matter how many times you watch the movie, it doesn't stop being scary. Like, you can't desensitize yourself enough to get through that movie without feeling fear every time you see it. And I don't feel that way about actual scary movies, but I'm using that as an example to express that the real scary movies to me is the ones in my head that play back things that really happened to me, or the threat of things happening to me that were very real. And, like, I don't know when it stops becoming scary. So I thought it was interesting that she said that you have to kind of do that in order to get through your traumas, because it's so true. Like, you can't work out trauma without talking about it in some form, without writing about it in some form, without, like, expressing it outside of yourself. You have to get it out, you know? And then you have to think in your mind about how the stuff affected you, where you see the parallels and this stuff coming up in your adulthood, and trying to, like, quell that stuff, trying to work through that stuff, trying to fix that stuff, admitting out loud to yourself that some of that stuff affected you in a really bad way. Like, something strange that my husband said to me, that it's strange because it's gross, but it's not strange as in it's untrue. Like, he told me, if you really think about your interactions with Noor, when you were dealing with him, to him, you were his girlfriend, but to you, he was some fucking creepy guy. So you treated him as such, but he also treated you as such. He treated you like he would his girlfriend. And the things he would get upset with you about were the kinds of things a dude would get upset with his girlfriend about. A really insecure dude, that is. So he was like, you're dealing with a person whose mind, like, thought it was acceptable to be dating as a 28-year-old, a child, a 13, 14-year-old. They're looking at a 13, 14-year-old child like a woman. Something is wrong with that person, you know? And he's just like, think about that. That's insane. That's crazy that this person had that kind of a view towards you. But that's how sick this person was in their head. So you're gonna be affected by how you were treated, because as a 13-year-old, you're like, why is this person acting like this towards me? What did I do to deserve this? You're completely confused because you didn't consent to that type of a relationship with him, but he's trying to push that onto you right in front of your mother, who is his actual girlfriend. It's a fucked up dynamic to, like, try to navigate your way through. Then, as you get older and you're looking back, now you're married, you have kids, your own kid is the age that you were when you were around this person. Now you're looking at this stuff and saying, like, oh my God, like, what the hell was that? What did I experience? What kind of Twilight Zone did I escape? Your brain can't even wrap itself around what happened because it's so unbelievable. It's so traumatic. And, like, scary. And he's right. That is exactly how I feel. So as scary as that is, I know that those are the triggers. Those are the reasons why these intrusive thoughts have become a thing that my brain has to like solve and work out in order to feel less anxious. I think that's because I think my subconscious mind feels like don't ever be caught off guard in potential dangerous situations because you didn't like think about it before you entered into a situation. So it's almost like my mind is trying to like work out a simulation of every potential threatening situation I could be in around other people or like caused by other people, because other people are the biggest threat to me. Like that's how it's been my entire life. Any and every bad thing that has happened to me, it's never just some coincidence. It's never a freak accident. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, I just keep getting into a bunch of car accidents or like things that's just by chance. You can't really help them. You know what I'm saying? Or like, I'm always getting caught out in a snowstorm or like natural disasters are happening all around me. Like that's not the type of trauma that I have. Most of my trauma came from, my long-lasting traumas came from human beings violating me, human beings trying to take advantage of me, human beings trying to physically harm me, human beings trying to physically threaten me, human beings trying to take advantage of me. Did I say that one already? But like that's my usual experience with traumatic events. It's always something caused by another human being. And mostly times that I don't have any control over what's going on. So I think my brain wants to feel like it has some control by creating these make-believe scenarios that I need to work out a solution for in my mind in order to feel like I'm equipped to deal with people. And like I also have really bad social anxiety, so when I'm around big groups of people I don't know, it makes me really nervous and like not scared, but on guard. I always feel like I need to be watching everyone. I need to have my mind at full alertness to like scan my surroundings to make sure that anybody who looks suspicious, I'm on top of them. Like I notice them right away. They're not going to catch me off guard. I pay a lot of attention to the way people talk about themselves because I feel like people tell on themselves, and people who are constantly bragging on themselves, those people I always watch the most. People who are too nice to me, like when they first meet me, I watch them very carefully, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like people really do tell on themselves. Like they tell you the kinds of people they are. They tell you they're crazy before you ever find out they're crazy. You just have to pay attention. And kind of the same thing happened with Noor. Like when I first met him, that whole energy that I was like feeling around him that I was telling you guys made me just like, my heart just stopped beating for a second. Like it just felt like this horrible feeling in my gut. That feeling was correct. You know what I'm saying? Like I questioned that feeling that I had because I never met him, and I didn't really base it on anything except his demeanor and his vibe when I saw him in person. Because even when I talked to him on the phone before that, I never had a weird feeling about him on the phone. So I've learned over the years that I have to like trust my gut feeling and steer clear of people who just give me a bad vibe. But sometimes, I can't predict that all the time. Some people are good actors, or some people just know how to like come off like they're trying to look out for you, like they care about you, but that's not necessarily the case. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know why I attract a lot of narcissistic people to me, and I attract a lot of control freaks to me. I think there's such a thing as people just like attracting certain personality types to themselves. And I feel like to some extent I myself am kind of a control freak because I'm so nervous about not being able to control what's going on so I can get away from a situation when I need to. I don't like that feeling. So because of that, it's like a defense mechanism that I use to protect myself, and that's why I feel the need to control my environment and like who I'm around, how I'm around them. Like my friends will sometimes be like, "Oh, let's go do this," and like the location that they choose to have this activity may make me feel like I can't control my environment enough to be in that situation. So even though I want to hang out with that person, I'll turn them down because I don't want to be in that location with them. But so if I can get them to do something else with me, like, oh, you come to my house, or like, let's go to your house, or, you know, let's go to this place where I'm familiar with, then I'll be okay. But like, if it's just a completely foreign environment that I haven't had a chance to scope out, like, I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? My anxiety will not let me do it. And so, but I don't want for people to think that it's like some personal thing. Like, I just don't want to hang out with them. Like, I have some friends that think that. They think every time they call me to hang out or like want to do something, I'm turning them down just because I don't want to hang out with them. And I'm like, nah, bitch, that's not what it is. But I ain't going to sit here and explain all my freaking mental quirks to you when you just want to go have a drink. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to do that. So I'll just find some excuse to be like, nah, I'm busy. I am busy, but I'm saying, like, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to go do that, because that's going to just have me a nervous wreck the entire time and I can't concentrate. So I got to turn you down. You know what I mean? So this stuff, I mean, it really does affect my like day-to-day life way more than I think I even admit out loud that it does, because I almost don't want to believe it. Like, I don't want to believe that I'm like a slave to my mental condition sometimes. But when you're just trapped in your own head, how do you get out of it? You know what I'm saying? And like, it's harder than people probably realize that it is to just snap out of it. This helps me a lot when I make videos talking about this stuff out loud, hearing myself say this stuff when I go back and listen to the videos, and like, it'll open up, like, you know, when I'm hearing myself say certain things, I'll be like, oh, that's why I do that. And then I'll realize, okay, I gotta work on that thing. You know what I mean? It just helps me to work through that stuff more than when I was just always brewing about it in my head, or just totally like not even trying to think about that stuff at all, suppressing it. That's like the worst thing to do, but I understand that it's a necessity just to survive, just to get through your day. Many times people do have to suppress their traumas to do that. You know, it's sad, but life still goes on. Nobody cares that we're hurting. Nobody cares that we're in pain. Nobody gives a shit that we're literally like having to talk ourselves through every interaction that we have with people sometimes. And I'm not even talking about like traumas necessarily. Some of us just have these problems because we have these disorders, and the disorder causes us to react the way that we do. So if you just have OCD, you just have autism, you're born with that. If you just have bad depression, you just have anxiety, you just have PTSD, like, even if you don't necessarily have a trauma that triggered a lot of these anxious thoughts and feelings you have, you still feel them. It's still real. And like, the world doesn't care. The world is not created to accommodate everybody's issues and problems. So until I feel more psychologically secure, I guess, my subconscious is a little bit more comfortable believing that I'm actually safe, I think that these thoughts will continue, and I just have to remind myself when it happens that it's not real, and that my mind is just overly exercising its ability to create defensive walls, so I can feel like I'm protecting myself more. I think that's what's going on in my mind. And I think the effect of those thoughts are less destructive or like hard to deal with when I'm realizing that that's what's going on. Knowing the reason why my mind is having these thoughts, you know, kind of eases them a little bit, and it makes the thoughts come less frequently. I notice that when I get enough sleep at night, I don't have these kinds of thoughts as much or as lingering. Like, when it starts to happen, I can catch them and tell myself, okay, you're doing it again. You're starting to worry about stuff that you don't need to be worried about. And then like, I can push the thoughts away a little bit better than when I'm just tired, like I'm just exhausted, because I don't have the energy, the brain power to make myself ignore the thoughts or not let them, you know, bloom into these full, complete scenarios with detail, It's just this fuzzy, nebulous idea that's just floating around in my mind without any clarity. So like I know it's some kind of negative thought, but I don't have to necessarily focus on it and dwell on it. I can distract myself from it a little bit easier when I'm rested. And if you are someone who is also having these kinds of thoughts, I think the scariest part about the thoughts is that for me, it's like me trying to work out scenarios of something bad happening to me. But for some people, it could be like violent thoughts. Like they're thinking about hurting other people or hurting themselves. And I have thoughts about dying a lot. And like, I'm not suicidal. Like, I don't want to kill myself. You know what I'm saying? But I also sometimes feel like I wouldn't mind dying because I wouldn't like fight it if it came around. I think I feel that way because it hurts sometimes to just be in my own thoughts, I feel like I'm trapped in my own mind and I can't focus on anything or get anything done because I'm just trapped inside my own brain. I can't concentrate on anything and be productive. And like, that makes me feel like I'm useless sometimes. So I'll just tell myself, like, if I died tomorrow, like, nobody's going to give a damn. Who cares? Life will still go on. The world will still be here. Things will still be happening. And no one's going to not get through their day because you're dead. Like, it's not that serious that you're here or not. I have those kinds of thoughts a lot. It's not one of those, like, self-pitying kind of thoughts where you're just like, oh, you suck. Nobody likes you. And then soon as someone says, I like you, now you just feel all better again. Like, that's not what that is. It's just like me trying to give myself a reality check of like where I fit into the world and how much value my personality has, how much contribution I can make to just the world in general. Like, to me, I feel like is a very small little amount, but I know that's not really true because like my doll channel has like 12,000 plus subscribers on it, millions of views on my channel just in general, and so much feedback from our fans and viewers who they connect with us on a level outside of the dolls. Like, they connect with us on a personal level because they feel understood by me and they feel like they have a lot in common with me. I'm very transparent about my life and my my personality over there, and I feel like the people who have been following me since the channel started, they appreciate that about me, about their ability to connect with me. Like, they write me all the time on Instagram. We have conversations all the time. Some of them follow me on Facebook, and some of them have my phone number. Like, I had one fan who, when we kind of went into our hiatus on YouTube, he like sent me a text message to check on me to make sure I was okay, because we had just kind of dropped off of our channel without any warnings. And these people have never met me in person, a lot of them, so I know that it's not true. I know that I do have some impact on others and that it's positive impact, which is good to know that about yourself. But just when I have these thoughts, it's like, it'll just be like, who cares? It doesn't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Because I had someone write me on there begging me to continue making videos after I had put up like my initial 6 videos. They were just about some bigger dolls that I was collecting, not fashion dolls, but like life-size little kid dolls. And I didn't see any good reviews for them. So I was like, well, I'm just going to post these reviews because I wanted to know this stuff before I bought these dolls. And now that I have the dolls, what's wrong with just giving people all the details that I can possibly give them? So I made those videos and I put them up. And I just had one of my viewers, like, he wrote me like paragraphs, not just a sentence. Paragraphs. Like, he was pouring his heart out to me, explaining how he basically only escapes into his true self when he's watching my videos because he feels completely ostracized and judged by other people because he collects these dolls. And he's a grown man, so he's like, they think it's weird, like they think I'm being a weirdo. And I honestly just love them for their beauty. Like, they're just beautiful, cute dolls. They make me feel good when I look at them, when I handle them, and I just find a lot of emotional peace when I'm playing with them. Like, it just gives me a lot of peace of mind and eases my anxieties. That's why I collect. And he's like, I have to hide it from people because they think I'm dangerous, they think I'm creepy, they think I'm nuts. You know, it's too difficult for me to explain this to people, and the way that they judge me makes me feel really bad. So I watch your videos and I listen to your voice while you're, describing the dolls, and it just relaxes me and soothes me, and it makes me feel like there are other people out there who are like me, that aren't crazy, and they just enjoy the dolls for the works of art that they are. It's like a sculpture that you can interact with. That's kind of how some of us look at it. So when he said that stuff to me, like, I really felt bad. I felt so sad for him, because I feel like I had taken for granted my ability to openly collect, mostly because I'm a female, and people don't judge you as badly when you're a woman who likes dolls. But if you're a straight man who likes dolls, it's like, what's wrong with you? Are you a pedophile? You know what I'm saying? Like, people just, are you gay? Like, people think something is wrong with you. And he just appreciated the art. So I totally understood his feeling, and I didn't realize there was a shortage of safe spaces online where adults could discuss their love for doll collecting. I didn't even realize that was an issue. Like, I didn't realize we had that need in the doll community, and that's what made me pursue actively uploading videos to the channel. And it grew from there. Like, it was all totally genuine. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for fame. It wasn't for showing off my collection to let you guys see how great my collection is and how yours suck. Like, that's not what it was. It was purely to connect and create spaces for people who were like me, that they could come there, and at least for the time that they're hanging out on my channel, they can just be free to be themselves and talk openly about how much they love dolls. I realize that. I understand that a lot of it is just in my head. But even though I realize it, that doesn't make it happen less, because I realize that, But I can cope with it a lot better because I realize this. And I'm hoping that those of you who are dealing with the same thing, I know it's not just me, or if you suspect that you're starting to develop these kind of intrusive thoughts, don't be afraid of them, and don't feel guilty because you're thinking about these weird things that like, if you really did this stuff, people would be like, what are you doing? Like, it would be a crime, or like you'd be hurting someone. It's just a thought. Don't scare yourself into thinking that it's like more serious than it is. Acting on the thoughts is a completely different situation, but the thoughts themselves, like, you're bigger than your thoughts, and you don't always have to do what your brain is telling you that you have to do. Like, sometimes I want to pig out and just eat an entire pie by myself, but I know as I'm thinking the thought, that's not healthy. Like, I'll regret it afterwards. I'm gonna hurt myself if I do that. I'm gonna be sick. I have diabetes, so it's like, that's the worst thing you can do as a diabetic. But that doesn't stop my brain from thinking about it, I think about stuff like that, but I'm not gonna do it. So it doesn't scare me when I have the thoughts, because I know my mind is just wandering. And something else too, I feel like some people's brains, they're just created to problem solve in that way. Like, your brain needs to do that in order to exercise itself and stay sharp. And for people who are like very intelligent, I think that happens more frequently with us, because your brain is like trying to do what it does best. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes when you don't have drama going on in your life, when there's nothing wrong, when you're not in danger, when you're totally safe, your mind is still saying, I need problems that need to be solved. Like, this is what my brain does. This is what I feel comfortable doing. So I'll just create a problem. I'll just make up an imaginary issue to solve. My brain can't tell the difference between what's really happening and what's not. So I feel like self-awareness kind of helps us to deal with this stuff a lot easier. And that's why I'm making these videos here, to help other people to kind of be aware of what's going on with them. Not necessarily because a doctor said so. Like, some of us don't have time to be dealing with doctors. Some of us don't have the confidence to walk into a doctor's office and tell them all our actual real problems. And some of us are scared of doctors. Like, I know some of you guys think if I go in there and tell these guys I think about poking myself with a fucking stick every damn day, they're gonna tell me that I need to go, to a mental hospital because I'm suicidal. Like, they can interpret it to mean anything. I understand that. Like, people have weird thoughts about hurting their kids. Like, it's just fleeting thoughts. You're not gonna do anything, but the fact that your mind even thought of it scares you sometimes. And you're like, if it scared me, like, what is a stranger gonna think who doesn't even know me if I walk into somebody's office and tell them, sometimes I think about drowning my kids in the bathtub and then what would happen next? But I'm not gonna do it. Like, really? You know what I'm saying? You gotta be careful, and I understand that. But, there's a lot of stuff in life that's not black and white, that we don't really have concrete rules around. But it is what it is. We're human beings, and there's a lot of gray area that we have to cover to navigate life. And I get that. So that's why this is here. That's why Anxiety Ab exists, because for those of us who are in that bubble of reality, we still need a space where we can just express ourselves, not be judged because we're having these strange thoughts, and just move on. Like, just move on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? I just need to get it off my chest sometimes. I just need to know another person thinks like this sometimes. I just need to know it's not abnormal for me to be thinking like this sometimes. I just need to know that, it's not the end of the world because I can't control all of my thoughts, or because I can't control all of my behaviors. It is what it is, right? Yeah, that's all. Anyway, what do you think about this topic? Drop it in the comments if you have something to add to the conversation, if you have a question, if you have advice for people that could be useful to them. Tell me a story if you have had intrusive thoughts that you don't mind sharing publicly, of course, because everyone can see the comments. But yeah, tell me a story about something like that that's happened to you, or like a frequent thought that you have that you just can't seem to get rid of. And maybe we can figure out ways that you can distract yourself from those thoughts, because sometimes that's all you can do. You can't stop the thought completely, but you can distract yourself from focusing on that thought. And that helps. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, go ahead and like the video. That's how I'll know. And if you have a request or a question about something you want me to address in a future video, then drop that in the comments as well. You can go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Gypsy Vibe. And that Instagram is solely for this channel, so all of our discussions over there will be about stuff that has to do with this channel and these topics, to kind of separate from my doll channel. And all the music you hear on this channel are created by Adonis and me. It's mostly him, but sometimes I help him out with certain chords and things that he wants to do. So he's very creative musically, and so I want to give a shout out to Adonis, and special thanks to Adonis for always making sure that I have enough music to accompany my videos. And if you happen to find me on Facebook, like, can you leave me a message before your friend requests me? Because I swear to God, like, people be just adding me on Facebook thinking I'm gonna add them back, and they find me over there somehow. I don't know how they're finding me over there, but I don't really advertise my Facebook like that because I don't really be on it like that, except to talk to like close friends and family members. Yeah, but I don't be knowing who y'all is. Like, who are you? So if you just go randomly like try to add me, like, I'm not gonna add you back, and then I don't want nobody getting their feelings hurt. So you gotta send me a message and say, hey, I'm one of your viewers from this channel and I found you over here, so I'm gonna add you. Like, communicate, okay? All right. Yeah, I just want to make sure we know this. But yeah, if you want some more ugly friends in your life, then you better holler before you miss your chance. Because when I gets beautiful, when I gets fly, when I gets gorgeous, I might be a little hard to get a hold of. I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm just saying. My name is Gypsy, and I appreciate you guys chilling with me today. And until the next time I see you, I will catch you later on anxiety problems. What's up?
Can I play PlayStation?
You have schoolwork to do. Why you look so confused? Bring me your laptop so I can find the pages you need to work on in your workbooks. Anyway.